guys, your boy X back at you again with another video today, and today we're going to do something a little different today concerning the time-lapse videos. I've been feeling like they need to be more involved, more connected with the viewers. So I'm going to be doing voiceovers attached to the time-lapse videos, explaining my thought process throughout the entire tattoo. Hope you guys like it. Just stay tuned. What's up, everybody? So we're about to get into this voiceover for, it's gonna be the first voiceover I've ever done for a time-lapse video. Now, let's get this out of the way. Welcome into my home, in the words of one of my favorite YouTubers. But another thing, if you hear anything, any noises, it's just my dog Loki. He's in the background, running around playing with his toys, doing what he does. So let's get into this. All right, so during these voiceovers, what I'm gonna be doing is walking you guys through my thought process throughout the entire tattoo. So I'm just gonna be explaining what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it. Hopefully you guys find this informative, hopefully you find it interesting. So let's dive right into it. So we got a little rose here. Just laid the stencil on, and essentially I didn't like put it right up next to the other rose because I wanted to leave a little bit of room to play around with some negative space ribbons, so, and some other background elements and things like that. So what I'm doing right now is I've got a really light Sharpie, kind of like a neon green Sharpie. And I'm just kind of like loosely, gesturally sketching in, different transitional elements, some negative space ribbons, as well as some background stem leaves to add more contrast to the roses, because the roses are going to be lighter in value. So adding some really dark, high contrast elements in there will help to bring the roses forward and to help provide layers. So we'll have our primary piece of subject matter, which are the roses, and then the secondary piece of subject matter, which are the stem leaves, which kind of push back a little bit further, and then the negative space ribbons, as well as like different folds and things that I'll add in later, which will be the tertiary piece of the subject matter, which will help to push it back even further. So it's just kind of like optical illusions and things of that nature. So now at this part of the process, I'm going back over it with a slightly darker marker, an orange marker, just to kind of like build up and slowly start refining some things. Hold on, this ain't gonna do. I'm gonna have to put this boy in the cage. He's wilding right now. All right, and we're back. So right now, laying in like a dark mid-tone, trying to create enough contrast to push those negative space ribbons to the forefront, and to help add some some context to what's going on with the roses. Looks like I'm getting into the first petal there on the rose, just a little bit, jumping back over to this background, so that's what we're getting into right now, a little background. All right, so it looks like I broke out a liner right here. Just trying to, do a little stencil preservation. Since it's not a real stencil, it's just a Sharpie, it's a marker that I drew on there. It's gonna fade away a lot faster than if I would like actually put that on a stencil and then, use some stencil solution and stuck it on there. So, I went in with the liner just to provide a little stencil preservation. That way, I still have my map laid out, and it looks like I'm laying in a nice dark triple black there to help boost that contrast like I was talking about earlier. Got my hair done in that video too, man. Looking crispy out here, bro. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? Get my hair done tomorrow too. Get these dreads nice and laid. Get ready to go to Chicago tomorrow, Monday morning. It's gonna be dope. I'll be there for a whole week. You know, I'll drop a card up there for the vlog for that. I'll be out there for a whole week. I'm gonna be tattooing, vlogging, partying, doing all types of crazy debauchery, and so, you know, stay tuned for that too. Right, so looks like that negative space ribbon is starting to take some shape. Starting to create some dimension here as well. Slowly but surely, you know, we're working our way up. So we're into that second petal now. Just finishing it up, throwing down some more line work, more stencil preservation, more contrast. So I'm gonna knock out all of these background and secondary pieces of subject matter, get all that mapped in before diving into the rows up above. So yeah. It's like I went back to like a dark mid-tone slash mid-tone for this background on this side. Still dark enough to provide contrast, but when it heals, it'll be light enough and smooth enough to, you know, give that nice silky creamy look to the black and gray. All right, so it looks like I'm starting to establish some edges on the bottom petal. Sometimes I'll do that first, you know, try to block out what's around an object, try to establish the edge. That way to give me more of an idea of what value that object really should be, because when you put in something next to it, it helps to give, when you put the value next to where you're going, it helps to give it context as to what it should be. You can compare those two values to know if you're going dark or not, dark enough or not. Because say I just went in straight to a petal, I might have done it too light and then putting a background there that's not, you know, if I put the background there that's too dark, that would then at that point show me that I should have went darker on the petal. So, you know, it just helps to, you know, put things in the background first before, you know, getting into, you know, the main pieces of subject matter. It looks like we're starting to get into it though, you know, laying in some of the darker tones in this petal. Just slowly brushing it in, building it up. And slow and steady is the key with black and gray. Everything has to be finessed. Can't just get in there and just full on saturate everything. You know, it's not like doing an illustrative style or something more traditional based. Don't mind my chips. I'm really hungry right now. I'm gonna enjoy these because they're good. Alright, so it looks like I'm starting to build up some texture, and I got my dark tones in, and I'm finessing some mid to lighter tones in the pedal here, as well as trying to build up some of the folds in the pedal. Yeah, you know, slow and steady is the way with this, and just gotta take your time and slowly brush it out. Really understand the values that you're putting in. If you can't understand the values that you're putting in, you'll never be able to, you know, get that realistic soft look that you want. A smooth soft look. It'll be bruised, it'll be beaten, and parts will be too dark that should be lighter. Just gotta take your time and really understand your gray wash system, understand your machine, and, you know, slowly brush it in and build it up and get it to where you want. So it looks like I kind of took a mag. You know, sometimes I'll do this. I'll take a mag with like a mid-tone or light tone or some shit, and I'll cock it on the side and just like super lightly like sketch in like where the edge is. So I'm not like really like defining the edge, but I'm just doing more stencil preservation, because once you like slowly nick the skin, it's gonna be raised slightly. It's gonna you know, we call it bloodlines in the industry. It's essentially just providing a small amount of irritation to the skin that will raise up and you know, show you. It'll provide stencil preservation essentially, because it's going to create redness on the surface of the skin. So it's essentially like keeping your stencil in place without the stencil, with the actual person's irritation of their skin. So I use that quite often with realism. It just you know, allows me to, you know, keep my stencil in place and, you know, keep the piece accurate, helps move things along. And looks like now we're building up the core shadow here in the center of the rose, as well as, you know, doing some more stencil preservation on the folds of these petals here. It's like I'm tattooing around these petals that fold over. Like I said before, it helps to give more context to you know, what needs to be done as far as the value is concerned. Value is extremely important. If you don't know what value is, it's how dark something is in relationship to how dark something else is. You know, typical value scale is like 1 to 10, 1 being the lightest and 10 being the darkest, and all the other midtones within, or you could say 0 to 10, you know, 0 being nothing, like open skin, and 10 being, you know, a triple black, and then everything in between could be, you know, different layers of gray, different midtones. So, yeah, value is probably one of the single most important things in black and gray. Especially, you have to think about how the tattoo's gonna look once it's healed, because, you know, every tattoo tends to heal 20 to 30% lighter than when it's fresh. Or you get, hold up, brain fart. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is that tattoos tend to lighten up 20 to 30% after they heal. So you have to kind of compensate for that and make the piece darker when it's fresh than it would be when it's healed. And that just takes some time, trial and error, to figure out what's the correct value range in order to achieve the result you're looking for, as far as providing the client with enough longevity in the tattoo to last them for the duration of their lifetime. So that's just how I feel about it anyway. And I feel like most people would agree with me that tattoo. So we're doing some more stencil preservation, blocking in those secondary pieces of subject matter, getting those stem leaves in there. Where my dog is going to town on this toy I bought him the other day. He loves that shit. He's like the biggest chewer, man. But all pit bulls are. Okay, so it looks like we've moved on. We're starting to block in this big petal here. I'm starting to work with a more of a mid-tone to a lighter mid-tone. Now I use a drop system where all of my black and gray, I mix it up myself. I don't do any pre-made mixes or anything of that nature. It's just varying degrees, varying drops of black and distilled water, and just work with it that way. And it's been something I've been refining over the years. It's always changing. I'm always trying to make micro adjustments and trying to improve my technique and my craft. So, right now I think I'm at a place where I'm pretty content with my gray wash system, but in the next year or two it could be completely different. It could be less than what it is right now. I think I'm at like 10 caps right now. Yeah, 10 caps. 10 cap gray wash system. But yeah, so got some mid-tones in there, blending them out to some lighter tones, as well as looks like I'm getting that core shadow in there, some reflected light. Just making sure it's still recording. Alright, so same deal. Got like a light mid-tone going in there right now. Starting to build up some of the texture in the folds of this petal right here. So we're working on the inner petal now. Hey Bubba, you good? Loki. Okay, you be good. Be a good boy. I gotta check on him every now and then. He's got some really extremely powerful jaws, and not careful, he might rip some of that toy off and eat it. He's done it before, and he had to get stomach surgery for it. He almost died. It was not a good time. It broke my heart to see him like that. He was crying. I never heard him cry like that ever. I do not want to see that ever again. So, hey, don't bite your rope. Leave it alone. It's my fur child, my fur baby. Okay. Hold on. Yo. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, sure. All right. So it looks like we're moving on. Building up some darker midtones in the center of this rose. And looks like I got the center of the rose. Pretty much with every rose I ever do, I like to, do a bloodline or a super light gray line of the center. And, just really take my time and try and render the center as realistically as possible. I really feel like that's something that a lot of people, skip or, try to take a shortcut on as far as tattooing like roses. I feel like that's a really important part of the rose. I feel like if you don't do the center of the rose, then what's the whole point? What's the point of tattooing a realistic rose if you, simplify the center? So, me personally, I refuse to do realistic roses on somebody that's unwilling to do the tattoo big enough in order to properly render, the center of a realistic rose. So, and that's pretty much, my stance on it. So typically it's gonna be about like a palm-sized rose at the minimum. I feel like it's the smallest it should be in order to provide the tattoo with enough space in order to tattoo the center of the rose effectively. So yeah, that's just my opinion. So like I said, I like to get that all lined out. That way I don't lose any of my stencil on the inside of there, and I can just take my time and really build up those values properly and get it to where it needs to be to the best of my ability. Alright, so we're making some progress here, man. Making some gains. Almost done. Just getting the middle of this rose mapped in. Smoothing some things out. We're finding some edges. I had a lot of fun with this piece. Now, roses are one of my favorite things to tattoo. One of my favorite pieces of subject matter. I never get bored of doing a rose, and I'm always trying new things to try to improve how I do them. So if you ever want to get a rose tattoo, let me know. I'm down. Let's do that shit. Right, so it looks like we're finishing up this last little petal over here. Or do I have 2 petals to go? Can't really see it. Now, as far as what I'm gonna do with the top here, because pretty much everything is gonna have a background, except for the very top. And that was done deliberately. Reason being is because this client plans on, adding on in the future and probably doing a full sleeve with me. So typically what I'll do in that case is, I'll just run like a gray line at the top of whatever the last piece it was that we were doing and just leave it at that. It's gonna look incomplete, yes, but it'll pay off in the long run. Reason being is because it gives me more options as to how I'm gonna transition into the next piece. Because at that point, I could choose whether to keep going, add a little background, and then do some more negative space in order to help transition into the next piece. Or if the piece works well with the muscle structure and you know what's going on, I can just layer it right underneath that rose and have it coming out from beneath the rose. But if I were to, you know, start adding some shading there, that might eat into potential room for the next piece. And taking priority spots that I could use for other things. So, you know, I feel like the best way to go about it is just you know, run a gray line, you know, that way it's not too dark. Because if you say you ran a black line at the top of that, yes, it's gonna be pronounced. But when you try to go in and do the next piece, it's gonna give it a more cartoony look, a more illustrative, realistic look. And you know, that's not really what we're going for here. We're trying to go for as realistic as possible. So, you know, in this scenario, to me, I feel like it's best to just leave a gray line there, and then in the future, whatever comes next, and we just stack it on top. That way, when the whole sleeve is done, it's gonna look cohesive, it's gonna look planned out. Yeah, so that's pretty much just my approach to, like, you know, composing, you know, larger pieces, and, you know, planning ahead. It's good to try and think ahead about what you're going to do in the future. And, you know, we already have a plan as to what's going on top of that. There's going to be a clock that goes on top of that. So that's going to help transition really well, like right from underneath that rose. But, you know, I want to get that stencil on in place before I start messing around with values that are going to go right above that rose. So looks like we're finishing up this last petal over here, adding some different, you know, textured looks to the petal. I pretty much just achieved those by, you know, turning my mag on its side and, you know, slowly, you know, brushing those in and building them up. You know, some of them are pretty deliberate, but some of them are more organic movements as well. You know, roses, they can give you a little bit of freedom because it's a plant. It grows. No two roses are the same. They grow organically, and they give you freedom to kind of, you know, add your own little flair, your own little flavor to them. So we're finishing this guy up. I'm gonna move down to the rose that's on the bottom, and you know, bring it back a little bit, give it some life. It's been a decent amount of time in between the first tattoo and the second tattoo being done. That's because the client, she got pregnant during, you know, after the first tattoo got done, so we never got to get into there. It had been at least a year. Maybe even 2 years, I'm not even sure, but it definitely was a while. So, and you know, I've grown as an artist too in between that time. So I was like, you know, let's make sure it all looks cohesive. Let's take a second pass over it and you know, just darken some things up. That way, you know, when you look at the piece as a whole, you can't tell, you know, which one was done and which one wasn't done. You know, I want the whole piece to have a cohesive look and to provide longevity for the client for, you know, the duration of their lifetime. So that's pretty much what we're gonna get into as soon as I'm done with this little background that I got on the left side and the right side. We're gonna jump down, get into that, darken it up. That way the whole piece looks nice and cohesive. So, yeah. Give a nice wipe down, a cool down. All right, so as you can see, the top rose is now healed. This is a different day, but even so, the top rose is still a lot darker than the bottom rose here. So we're gonna get in there and you know, start adding that second pass that we need. Also, as you can see, there's a stencil on the right side. You're not gonna see that in this video, but if you stay tuned, that should be coming up pretty shortly. I have another voiceover for that one as well. I'll link it in the card up above. So make sure you check that one out too. That's a dope video. It's a hot video for sure. Pretty much this entire half sleeve is a vanitas piece. And what vanitas means, it's kind of like, you know, the balance of life and death. It's you know, observing the impermanence of all things. And you know, classic tattoo, classic painterly imagery for that has always been roses and skulls and, you know, other things that are impermanent in nature, you know. So that's essentially the theme for this little half sleeve that we got going. But as we move up, there'll definitely be other elements that are introduced into the project as a whole, you know. But you know, I had a really good time on this one, and I was really happy with the end result for the entire piece. But yeah, so we're running back through this, adding a lot of darker midtones, you know, just something that's going to you know, hold up and hold through the test of time, and adding some more triple blacks in there, you know, between the times that I started it and the time that we're doing it now. Now, I hadn't been using triple blacks at that time. I had just got put up on game by the homie, this triple black, and that definitely is a game changer for me. So definitely use that in like my darkest parts of my tattoos. My dog is pouting so hard right now. He really wants some attention, but he's gonna have to wait approximately 4 more minutes. Hush up, buddy. Hush. No. Alright, so we run through this top petal here. More darker midtones, just, you know, run through real quick. Didn't really take long to run through this one. Maybe about like an hour. You know, typically when I do rose from start to finish, it'll take me about anywhere between 4 or 6 hours to do it, depending on the size of the tattoo and the complexity of it. How many petals, how many folds, you know, the light source, you know, the value range. All these different things come into play in my mind while I'm trying to tattoo this kind of stuff. And you know, when it's already been established and things are in play, I don't really have to like refer back to a reference or any of that nature. I just can follow what I've already done and, you know, run back through it and rock it out real quick. But yeah, I kind of just did this real quick before we got into the main session of the day, which was the skull, like I said earlier. So that's pretty much what's going on, man. We're getting in there, we're tightening things up, refining edges, adding more value to the piece, giving it more substance, giving it more texture, and you know, making a nice cohesive piece, you know what I mean, as you know, in relation to both roses there. As you can see, my hair is no longer crisp and fresh. Had to have been a couple weeks in between those, maybe even longer, maybe even a month. But yeah, I'm going through this dreadlock process right now. Hair is, you know, transforming before my very eyes, turning into to locks, and I'm loving the process. Very freeing. Just kind of let my hair do what it does, and you know, maybe I'll make a little video on that. You know, when I get to a year into my dreadlock journey, maybe I'll do a little video for that. I'm gonna start posting more lifestyle on this channel, you know. Initially it was supposed to be strictly like tattooing and art related, but I kind of want to let you guys into my life a little bit more, and, you know, let you get to know me as a person and, you know, see who I am. So I might start showing some stuff like that. If you guys want to see stuff like that, let me know. Drop a comment down below, and you know, I'll serve it up. Alright, man, now we're cooking with grease. It's looking good. You know, got the midtones popping. Let's go. go. You know, another thing that might be worth noting is, you know, it's good to know where you need to put your tones, but it's also equally as valuable knowing where not to put them and where to restrain yourself in order to retain your contrast in the piece. You know, by leaving enough empty skin where it needs to be in order to achieve the illusion of, you know, a strong light source hitting that area. You know, so don't neglect your negative space. It's important.
Alright, so that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys like the new layout that we got for the time-lapse videos as far as the voiceovers are concerned. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Let's talk about it in the comment sections. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Love, peace, and happiness.